Hey, this is Death Unto Madness, your favorite Burning Wheel show on the internet, and Let's Us Crow Inquisitors. Um, so we are here to kind of round out our time here with Death Unto Madness. And so if you have watched the last episode, you'll have seen that we kind of ended things, but then decided, we need to get a little bit more closure with all of our characters. So we're back to kind of let that epilogue breathe a little bit more instead of kind of trying to rush it at the end there. But yeah, so we talked a little bit after last episode, and all of us were pretty universally unsatisfied with it being so rushed up there at the end. We wanted to get a little bit more time with the characters and make sure that we send them off on the best note possible. So yeah, we're gonna follow up with Alpheus, Maya, and Avra. Joser, Josh couldn't be here because of scheduling things, but Joser's arc, as Josh said himself, is pretty much over with. He kind of fades off into the background anyway, and does God stuff now. So I think in theory, I guess he could do the coronation and stuff, but we can figure it out what that will look like for your guys' characters. And decide if Joser can always show up if he needs to, and I can play him. But yeah, so we're not going to do bits this time since we're just kind of wrapping things up, give an epilogue. We're not really going to earn Artha this session. This will be end game stuff here after climax, denouement, falling action, all that stuff. I think we probably get started though at first with kind of like part of the last episode, right? So we saw Joser finish his ritual, and the Tartuans, right, these giant rock golem things, these demonic rock golems were slowly marching to the city, and they were about to get to Sinia, and that's of course when, the what's it called? The eucatastrophe happens, and the choir plays, and the light shines around Sinia, and it's protected from the onslaught of the demonic that was about to destroy it. And then we see, like some portals open up above the city, and, some people in various colored cloaks jump out and start attacking these Tartuans, and then we see the gods get involved, and an epic battle starts as we kind of getting our opening shots here. And but then we kind of like hard cut, and all that's left is some rocky corpses, the shimmering light that is now surrounding Sinia, and a wisp of cloud that once was Joser as he kind of goes off into the ether to kind of push the fight back away from Sinia towards the rest of the world. And we know what happens with Joser. We know, right? He ascends to godhood and goes back to fighting the Tartuans. Not that everything gets wrapped up in a neat little bow, but necessarily there still will be fights to wage, or wars to wage, and demons to take care of, little cracks in the world that need to be filled in again. That'll take some time, but we pick back up with Sinia, and we see a city in ruin, certainly, but not a city without hope, right? We see the shimmering light surrounding it, as Joseph's ritual has kind of bathed it in this kind of glowing yellow-white light. And I think we pick up with probably like a view of the palace and our characters kind of converging, right? So we see people walking through it. We're probably getting multiple shots of like people walking through the city, and it's safe, and right, like everyone, all the demonic is gone from the city. The people who are enemies of you have started fleeing, and we just see like a shot of Maya and Ben and the people who are with them. Right, so we see Knossos, and the others there, kind of come out of the manor there and start to like look around and see like, oh, we won, right? We won, like sort of a thing. And we see Spiridon and his men kind of march up the avenue towards the palace. And we see Avra in the palace probably itself, and Alpheus and Joser. I guess Joser's already left at this point, but we see Alpheus and Avra probably with some soldiers at the palace with Titan in tow, right? Like Titan, tied up and ready for trial, sort of a thing, right? And I have some notes here about like things that we need to see before we finish up. And so I don't know if there's, I guess I'll just pose it to you guys. Is there anything that we need to go back to in media res right after this all happened? Or do we just see that montage and then skip ahead in time?
I don't think there's anything I need to do specifically for Maya. I'm fine with just kind of skipping ahead in time, but yeah, it's silly for me.
That makes sense to me. I think probably the next thing we see is probably like Ben's coronation. That's probably like the next big thing. Or at least like probably there's probably a couple conversations that happen before then. So I think that's the next big thing that's going to happen. And we see the city slowly start to rebuild, right? We see a couple of shots of Spiridon and his men, securing the place. The men from Caruzia who survived, kind of meeting back up with the city, and just generally everybody's kind of taking stock of everything that happened. And I think we probably see a moment. I think the first thing I want to start with is Ben comes up to you, Alpheus. So I guess this is the question. Alpheus, where would you be as things are rebuilding? Where do you hang out before you actually head out to Caruzia, right? For your retirement?
I feel like I would be in the palace or wherever stuff like planning for the future is occurring. I feel like that's where I would be.
Yeah. Maybe you're around a big table with Spiridon and Keladon and those folks talking through logistics. And Alpheus isn't super great at logistics, but he's probably there anyway. Just kind of hanging around in case anyone needs him. And Ben is being brought in on these deliberations, and I think there's a moment. So Knossos is in the room here, and I mean whoever else would like to be, but I think Knossos is nearby, probably next to Spiridon. He's probably been upgraded to bodyguard or something like that, right? Like he's officially joined probably Spiridon's crew, his army, his little army he has here. But I think Ben comes over to you, Alpheus, just as everybody's deliberating, and like Ben also isn't good at logistics yet, and so it's like a moment that you two are just kind of standing around not being useful, and so he strikes up a conversation with you, and I think he says, "Well, Alpheus, I guess it's not going to be too long before you head out to Caruzia, huh?"
Well, if things keep going as well as they have been, so I guess not.
Yeah, and he
which might be kind of nice.
Yeah. He smiles at you, but there's like a bit of sadness behind the smile, right? Because you can tell he's like gonna miss you or whatever. But I think he says, he like pauses for a moment and then says, "Alpheus, I want to thank you. I heard a little bit about what you did with that dagger, the magical dagger that you created to help if Titan was to attack. It didn't end up coming up, but I was thinking about it and about everything you've done for me throughout this whole thing. And I realized that in a way you did protect me in that moment. Not with the dagger, but I don't know if you heard, but there was some horrible zombie that was attacking us, trying to claw its way into the manor, and there were only a few men standing between me and that thing. And the one I think who mattered the most in that moment, there was a moment where that creature was about to reach out and kill me. Could see it in her eyes. Her spines were about to shoot out. And then Knossos was there. He threw aside everything he had been before. He was brave, Alpheus. He stopped being a coward for just a moment, and he stepped in the way and stabbed the thing. I think I'll always remember that moment because that was you at the end of the day. You didn't have to take pity on that man. He like gestures with his head over towards Knossos, who's like standing in uniform, right? But you decided to anyway, and I think ultimately that act of kindness is what saved my life.
Hold on. So when we met Knossos, did Ben ask me to take him? I forget.
Yeah, so what happened originally, right, was like you tried to get him to help you escape Titan and the ship, and then he ended up being captured. But it certainly was Ben who pushed you to like be nice to him after that stuff. But like he's even saying like, yeah, I pushed you to do it, but like you're the one who can actually convince people of things, right? Like at the end of the day, you made Knossos into this man, not me.
Yeah. And so Alpheus says, for all the bad I've done, I've had to try and make up for it. And I suppose Knossos being there to help you is related to that. Because yeah, you're right. We didn't have to treat him the way we have, but he also didn't need to try to save you. But he did.
He did. And I think it changed him. And like we get a close-up shot on Knossos' face, and it looks a little bit less timid, a little bit less scared, a little bit less weaselly.
And he's there? Is he at the meeting?
Yeah, he's like next to Spiridon. He's like been promoted in a uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll tell Ben, well, keep him close and have that. You need to try to have that same effect on people as you rule them. Be a good king so that your kingdom will be full of good people.
I'll try, Alpheus. And I have a feeling that anything good that's going to come from me is going to be in large part due to you.
No, don't say that. Your mom's all right.
Yeah.
I would say, don't say that.
He smiles. And then I think it's at that moment that someone walks in, and let's see who it might be, who would deliver this news. It might not be anyone we know. Let's say Gavril walks in. So Gavril, as a reminder, is like one of the Sinian nobles who's working with Maya a while ago. And he walks in and he frowns and sees Ben and walks over and like, Ben's not officially coronated yet, but like everyone is still like, they know that like he's the guy who's ultimately in charge. And Gavril walks over to Ben and says this loud enough so that Spiridon and the others and Caledon and stuff, they also hear this. So he's including them on the conversation, but being respectful by telling this to Ben first. And he says, Your Majesty, there's someone outside claiming that he wants to swear allegiance to you before your coronation. And Ben frowns. Who? And Gavril frowns again, like even deeper somehow, and says, one Lord Soter.
Oh, yeah.
And we get a shot, and we hard cut, and we get a shot to like the outside of this room that you guys were in. And this bedraggled looking man, as a reminder, Soter is played by Ralph Fiennes. Right, so Voldemort. But so he has a grimy looking face, a really like a thick beard, because like, but it's very unkempt and stuff. It's obvious that he's whatever he's been surviving in Sinia somehow, right? Whether or not, I think probably for a while he was working as part of Ophelia's government, but has found a way to survive since then. And he's still wearing his like noble robe situation, but it's like very torn and dirty. He hasn't like taken it off for months, and he's holding his hands together like this, right? And like there's the group of you like standing outside there, and he says, "My lord, your Majesty, Ben Asher the King, I would like to humbly request that I be once again brought into the service of the King of Sinia. I've served long and hard and would do nothing but serve your Majesty." And like all of you know, this guy is like bad news. He's like a terrible person. I'm just curious, how would Alpheus respond to this?
Alpheus would, I think if this was the beginning of the show, he would have been like, just kill this guy. Like,
Off with
he's
his head,
terrible.
yeah.
But I think now he's learned enough. So what he does is he just waits to see what Ben decides to do. Like to see if he's going to make the right decision, or because I don't think Ben's dumb, but maybe he doesn't understand. I don't know, but he'll wait. See what he does.
Let me check if Soter has like a skill that makes sense here. Maybe he's just rolling like an etiquette roll. Soothing platitudes, maybe? Falsehood? I don't know. One of those. What do you guys think? He's trying to like ingratiate himself and like have pity on me, like.
But is he trying to persuade him to put him in his cabinet or whatever?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was just saying Ben's not like angry with him, so I don't, or like upset with him, so I don't think that's like a soothing platitudes kind of a thing. Maybe as a fork, but
might just be persuasion then.
Yeah, I mean, because is he lying? Like that he'll like? I
mean,
dedicate his whole life.
Yes, he's definitely lying. That's the case. Yeah, let's have him roll falsehood. Yeah.
Right. Like yeah.
Yep. I mean, he's certainly not like he's going to serve him as long as it's beneficial to him. But like this is bad news. Like he should like if Ben is convinced by this, is because he's been lied to convincingly, right?
Now, is he going to have any odd penalties? Like, is anybody going to say anything to Ben about like him? I guess that's the question, right?
Yeah. It sounds like Alpheus is just waiting, and I think that's the person who matters. Like everyone else, like knows he can be bad news, but like wants to leave it to Ben. I think to decide. I think this is a good moment for Ben to just decide. He has a 6 will. Like it's not necessarily going to be a given that he succeeds. But also I think I'll say I'll make the op 6 for Soter. But if anyone has a higher will than that, like I think Gavril might. Then no, Gavril's will is 6 as well. I was going to say if anyone had a higher will, like
this is and what he's done.
This is Lord Soter. This is the guy who tried to marry you, Avra. Yeah. There's a whole thing. He lied about having a marriage alliance with you or whatever that like your father had done in your absence or something, right? Yeah,
I forgot that he did that.
Yeah, I mean Alpheus like literally was campaigning. That's why Celadon got into this whole thing with trying to become king in the first season at the end there, is because Alpheus was like, this guy's trying to take your right, like the whole big thing that happened there.
That was a long time ago.
It was, yeah. Okay, anyway, I was gonna say if anyone like had a higher will than Ben, like he would also have to hit their will to convince them, but I don't think anyone has a higher will than Ben. Still in op 6. Let's see. He is rolling, or he's forking in conspicuous, right? He's trying to make himself noticeably bedraggled and pitiful. Etiquette. Let's see. Noble wise. And probably just soothing. Actually, persuasion and soothing platitudes. There you go. That's his forks. Ob is 6. We'll see how it goes. Whew, that was a ridiculously good roll on his part. Yeah, so I mean, again, it's not that like this is the worst thing ever and like the Sinia is gonna fall now, but like I think Ben does decide to be merciful, and it's probably a mistake. But I think the shot we get and like the way this whole thing is framed is like everyone in his cabinet besides Soter, right? Like all of you who are standing behind him in this moment. You see Ben, and you can see he's still naive, but you all probably give each other a look, right? And you're like, but we got his back, right? Like if Soter tries anything, like we're gonna make sure that our king isn't taken unawares. So I don't think this is like a doom in the future for Sinia because this guy is back in. I think it's just like a growing pain moment where it's like Ben still has a long way to go, but eventually he'll probably be a good king, right?
Well, and it's probably too, right? Like, it's not like Ben's like, yeah, you could be like my right-hand man now.
Yeah, of course. Like, yep. But he decides to be merciful in this moment, right? And it's a good thing for Ben. Like, Ben is showing a good virtue in this moment. It may not be the wisest thing in the world, but mercy is a good thing. And all of you, I mean, Alpheus and the rest probably respect him, at least for that part of it, right? In this moment. Yeah, so we see that moment pass. Soter manages to worm his way in. You know what I think he does though. I think this is what Ben does. He says, "Very well, Lord Soter, I accept your pledge. I will get you to work right away as the Minister of Public Works." He looks around at the burning city, like the still burning city of Sinia. He's like, "We have a lot of work ahead of us to make this city grand again, and I want to make sure that you're on the ground floor of making sure that the work crews get to work and making our city beautiful once more." And then Ben like turns to probably Gavril, or no, to Spiridon, and then says, "General Spiridon, do you happen to know where Lord Soter could find a shovel?" And then we just see Spiridon grin, and then we just like cut the scene there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And yeah. So a thought I had based on that thing, right? I'm curious if Alpheus, seeing this, right, seeing Soter be brought back in, would that in any way make Alpheus think like maybe I should stick around? I don't like you are perfectly able to choose whatever you would like for Alpheus. I'm just curious if there's like any part of him that does actually want to stick around to see this through with Ben, or if he truly does just want to get his retirement in Carusia.
No, I feel like he wouldn't be able to. Like, I feel like he would not be able to just. He'd be like restless. Like, he'd be retiring, just like, oh man, what could I be doing right now? You know?
Sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel like Alpheus goes on vacation for like 2 days and is like, no.
He just gets super bored and he's like, I gotta do something. And he'll march back to the palace.
Yeah, here's a question. Is this does Alpheus stick? I assume Alpheus sticks around for Ben's coronation. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So then I think we'll see that moment, the moment you just described. But let's keep playing out kind of in chronological order here. Is there anything that Maya or Avra you would like to do before coronation?
I don't know if there's anything in particular that I actually like can think of that I want to do with Avra. Like,
yeah, I have some ideas for you.
Not okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah, like I feel like she didn't quite get like full closure at the end of everything, but I don't know what to do to add to it.
Yeah, I have some notes in particular about stuff that's gonna wrap up with Avra. One thing that could happen before coronation would be Avra starting to teach Ben about the Irida. Do we want to get a scene with that?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So I guess first question would be, is Maya here? She could be or not. Up to you.
I don't see why she would be here for this part.
Totally fine. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I appreciate trying to include. I feel like Maya is probably, I don't know, trying to like, she's probably also on the ground floor trying to like help people out, or try to clean up the castle, and establish like a home here, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so I think Avra, we probably get a shot first of you and Caledon, and this is like you're about to go off to teach Ben, and Caledon, like there's this is like the first time you two have been able to have a moment alone after everything had happened. And I think there's a brief moment where you both end up in like some sitting room or something in the palace, and there's still like rubble everywhere or whatever, but like there's a servant who has been like cleaning up the place and then goes off to do something else, and the two of you are just kind of like left in this room alone, kind of in between things that you're doing. Caledon looks around, notices that like no one's around, comes over to you and says, "So, we're married. That's a long time coming."
Indeed.
He smiles. "Listen, Avra, I'm sorry about this all taking so long. Basically, the end of the world that made it all happen in the end, and you deserved better than that. We should have a real wedding. One with flowers and you in a white dress, or whatever cultural things they have here."
I'd like that.
He nods. And, well, should be other things that we attend to, now that we're a married couple and all that. But, and he gets slightly awkward. He says, "Suppose we're a little busy this afternoon, but maybe tonight we should spend some time, just the two of us."
Yeah, she just kind of smiles and nods, probably blushing.
Yeah. And he reaches over, kind of like caresses Avra's face and then like softly kisses you. And I think he says, breaks the moment with a grin and says, "I would have made a terrible king."
Yeah, I was just like, that's not true. But I'm glad you don't have to stress yourself out.
Yeah. And his smile slowly kind of fades a little bit, and he's like, Yeah. Yeah, that's the line I always told myself, isn't it? Let's just put it this way. After everything, I'm content giving it up. But for now, both of us have a lot of work to do. Even if I'm not the king and you're not the queen, duty calls. And he kisses you again, and then I think you guys just like go your separate ways. And yeah, I mean, I think you show up, and Ben is there's probably some study or something that you guys like are meeting at. And yeah, I think Ben we just see Ben like stand up straight, and as you like enter the room, and he just says, he nods curtly, "And Avra?"
I'm trying to figure out how she would address him. Has he actually been officially coordinated yet?
Not yet.
Okay. I think she would still do whatever the proper like bow or whatever the greeting is for the king.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I think Ben says, "I know that I have a lot to learn on how to do all of this, but I'm glad that you're here to help me with this part of it." even if grandfather wasn't able to teach me properly, it's good that we still have the Irida, and it's good that we're still able to. That you're still able to. Let me put it this way, Aunt Avra. I'm honored to fulfill my duty and be part of a long line of kings before me. I know that this book is important, and that together I can learn how to rule well from it.
I don't really know what to say to that.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, man. But obviously, I've already say that.
I mean, yeah. I'm curious. Like, what does Avra feel about all of this? I'm obviously she's like all on board and is gonna like teach him and stuff. But like, what approach is Avra going to take teaching him? I suppose is the question, right?
I think in a similar way to me as a player not knowing how one would teach this, I think Abra doesn't really know where to start. Yeah. Because like she like pretty much all she did to like use the Irida was like read it and get these visions, right? So like
yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the moment then that Situs shows up, right? We see him walk through the door. Like maybe we see this on Avra's face, right? We see the dauntedness on her face. She's like, yeah, honestly, I don't know where to start. We see her freeze. And that's when the door opens softly behind you. And we see Situs, right? This dark, brown-haired, bearded man walk through. He has a blue cloak. He's wearing clothes that look like he's from Sinia again. And he steps in, and we see he has like the tasteful, like, oh, I'm injured vibe about him. He has like his arm in a sling, right? And he walks in and smiles, and he says, don't worry, you two. You won't have to do this alone. I know Joser is ascended back to the heavenly realm and is off doing grand things, but not all of us are. Let's just say that there are others of us who can be a little bit more down to earth. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to help you more, Avra, before this, but I'm here now, and I'm here to help Sinia regain its feet. There are some things that it needs to be aware of if it's going to survive what's going to come in the future. Because suffice to say, all of this has just been a battle. A very important one, but a battle all the same. And the war is still ongoing. And Ben is frowning, kind of confused as to what is happening, like, and he turns to you and says, "And Avra, who is this man?"
I mean, do I even have any way of explain like like like
I mean, yeah,
all
there's
I think of that she could say is like he's someone that knows more than I do.
Yeah, that's the probably the most summarized that could be. Yeah. And I think we can probably close that part of it there. Because if Avra didn't have a whole big idea about how to go about teaching him, I think it makes sense. I was gonna have Situs show up at some point, but I think it makes sense if Avra herself is already sort of daunted by this, that Situs would show up and help out now that things have calmed down a little bit. Well, let's do coronation then, shall we? Maya, did you have any particular ideas about Ben coronation? Something, whatever you wanted to see from this?
I want to see that crown on his head.
Yeah. Who's actually doing it? I think maybe because Joser is gone, ascended, and off now, we can probably have someone else do it.
Yeah, I think it would make sense to have maybe even Caledon do it, to be honest.
Well, I was gonna say maybe Calic. Maybe Calic's the one who does it. Right? He's like the priest who's left over.
Right? Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like the people trust him, and he is our official Sinian priest, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think we see Calic, right?
We probably have like Celadon like ceremoniously
hand it
go from his head to
Vince, something
right?
like that. Yeah. That makes sense. But yeah, I like it that it's Calic because I don't think Calic worships Aratos anymore. I think all of everything that's happened here. I don't know. I'm not sure what Calic believes exactly, but I think it's a little bit more like what Joser himself believed with all of this. Like he's like maybe like I still revere the gods because they are powerful individuals who obviously have helped us fight this battle and saved Sinia and stuff. But we see Calic like he's not wearing the normal stuff of Aratos. He's still like acting in a clerical role here. But it seems ambiguous what who exactly he's serving, like how he views this in the future. And maybe the only hint we get of it is we see him talking with Situs before the coronation. We get a brief snippet, maybe before Maya walks up and nods to him like, okay, it's time to go, like everybody's in place, sort of a thing, right? Like we see him like have a brief snippet of conversation with Situs, and we don't hear what they say, but we see Situs explaining something and Calic like nodding in deep in thought. And that's all we see, I think, from that. But yeah, I think we see Calic. That I think that makes sense, right? Celadon is wearing the crown, and then Calic is going to take it from, or no, maybe Celadon himself is going to offer it to Calic, and then Calic is going to place it on Ben's forehead.
Right. The whole symbolism of him willingly giving it up,
Exactly. Yeah.
Which he is,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I guess Calic doesn't have ritual as a skill. But we probably don't need to necessarily roll anything here. If he was doing anything, he'd be doing an oratory. He'd probably give some sort of speech. Probably along the lines of, like, maybe before the actual transfer of the crown. We see a whole bunch of different characters, right, in the crowd. We see Avra and Celadon, or I guess Avra's in the crowd and then Celadon's up on stage. But we see Avra, we see Alpheus, we see Situs, Gavril, Malekith, obviously, Knossos. Let's see. I think we get a shot of Sophocles because he's still around somehow, right? The eccentric playwright. Spiridon and his honor guard. I think Spiridon probably is going to stick around and help Ben, as his general for now, right? And maybe like Spiridon himself has said like, oh, this is just temporary. Like I'm going to be in retirement myself soon. But like everyone can tell like he cares enough now about what's happening to stick around indefinitely. We see all these characters.
To work with his grandson too. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially when Alpheus tries to go into retirement and then comes back, that'll definitely mean Spiridon sticks around. But yeah, I think we see the transfer of the crown is about to happen, and then Calic says, he says, "People of Sinia, we have come to a momentous occasion. A new king is being crowned in Sinia. And while we honor and appreciate the service that Celadon has given to the city of Sinia, he has decided to willingly relinquish his authority to Ben Asher, the rightful king of Sinia, the true heir. Maya being the firstborn of Thestios. It has been agreed by the council, and we point to Gavril and Spiridon and them, this new council that's apparently been formed, that Ben Asher is the rightful recipient of the crown and the king to lead Sinia in the years to come. And then he just nods to Celadon, and Celadon takes off the crown, gives it to Calic. Calic steps over places the crown on Ben's head. And then Ben looks at the crowd and says, "People of Sinia, I am honored by this privilege that has been given to me. The ability to rule and lead and serve the city-state of Sinia. I promise that in the years to come, I will seek to have wisdom and mercy always at the forefront of my reign. Wisdom on the crown of my head, and mercy always on my lips." The reclaiming of Sinia was a task that was not undergone lightly. It took many, many months of blood, sweat, and tears to accomplish. But I am eternally grateful that so many of us, so many of those I hold dear, are still here at my side to see Sinia come to a rebirth. Before he left, I spoke with the god Hagiel. We spoke of what happened in Sinia that day, not so long ago, when heavenly light protected our borders, and darkness, the darkness of Tartuit itself, was kept outside of our walls, crumbling though they were. He said something before he left that stuck with me. He laughed as he thought of so many of us who had been willing to give our lives in the service of Sinia. And that in the end, many of us did not have to give that sacrifice. Because we have another sacrifice to give. We feared death, but what should shake us more is the life ahead of us, the road ahead of us. Sometimes the sacrifice we give to our city, to our people, is not death, but a life of service. And that is what we are giving today. That is what I am giving today to you. I would gladly have given my life to see Sinia restored. But I find myself instead giving my life, giving my years, my youth, and whatever time remains after that. We get shots of each of the characters, right? We see Alpheus, we see Maya, we see Avra. And he's probably looking at you during this speech, right? Each of you finding your gazes. And he says, all of us have our lives ahead of us to give. Hope was restored to us. Hope that was undeserved, ultimately. We worked hard for this day, but it was given to us as a gift that we could not have earned on our own, no matter how hard we tried. So all that is left to us is to live lives worthy of that gift, of the gift that was given to us in Sinia. A city restored to us, its rightful people. And I swear that none of the years I give in service to this city will be in vain. And I think I'm going to make a roll for him. We'll see how it goes. Because I was thinking, like, as he was speaking, it's like, a lot of people don't know this kid. Obviously, you succeeded on your like play and all that stuff, Maya. But like, there's still probably the moment of testing, right? Like, can he inspire the people in this moment to truly serve him? And I guess he doesn't have oratory. But let's say for the purposes of this that we give him it.
I mean, right? It's probably like we probably have been practicing this the last couple of days.
This is time that, and we're kind of hand waving a few things. And I'm gonna have him fork some things in, and it's just gonna be an op 3, right? Base on will of the crowd, and these are mainly normal people that he's talking to.
Calic able to give him. Oh, I was gonna say Calic.
Yeah, of course. Dice? Yep. I'll go ahead and roll fate for him, and then add another die for Calic. Very fun. Yeah, he failed. But I think, like, again, it's like I don't want any of these rolls that we're making to like mean like Sinia is gonna go down to the dumps or whatever. Like that's not the case.
Oh, that was. But sorry, you didn't include the helping die in there.
I did. I put it in. I gave him an extra in. Oh no, yeah, you're right. Because I could have spent 2 fate. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Okay, we'll try one more time.
Yeah, who knows?
Nope. Yeah, again, like Ben isn't good at this yet, and that's okay, right? Like that's he says this, and like there's a lot of people who don't understand what he's talking about. Right? We see the crowd confused. Some of them are unsure about this boy, who doesn't look like them, right? He's dark skin. He looks like an AutoCAD, right? They're unsure of him still, right? He hasn't been proved yet, and we know this of Ben. He still has the proving ahead of him, right? But this role, everything isn't riding on this role. I think what we do see is that even though the crowd doesn't really understand his speech, you three do, right? We see Alpheus, we see Maya, we see Avra, and at the end of the day, I think that's who this speech was for more than anyone else, right? Because Ben has been thinking about everything that happened, and like I was thinking as the GM about the end of our game and how like there was never a moment where anyone had to sacrifice their life, or like the normal things you have happen at the end of a fantasy story like this. And I think that is the answer, right? Is that's Death Unto Madness was so dark and so full of death and madness and terrible, terrible things. But at the end of the day, that's not what your characters are offering. We don't need more death, right? We don't need more sacrifice. What we need is life. What we need is characters who are willing to spend the rest of their lives, however long it takes, making Sinia the place it needs to be. And so even though we didn't get those moments of ultimate sacrifice or deeds points or whatever, right? We do see 3 characters who are willing to spend whatever years remain helping this naive boy become a good king, and for Sinia to become the place he was meant to be. And that's what we see from the coronation. I think we fade out from there. There's a couple things still left in my notes that I want to make sure we cover. We probably see Alpheus and Caruzia next. Alpheus, you made your way to Caruzia, right? You expecting retirement. You're settling in. We see you settle into the manor on the hill that overlooks Caruzia. And you're having an argument with a young man who, in your absence, has taken over control of the town. He was the one who was responsible for a very noble deed, which was a bunch of his men gave their lives to fight the Tartuans, the giant rock golem things that were marching through their territory, marching through Caruzia. And they held them off just long enough that Joser was actually able to do what he could do. And you're let's just say the transition of power has not been smooth. Isidore is the sort of man who doesn't trust people like you. right? You're a smooth talker. You strolled back in and you're like, my daddy was in charge of this place and now I'm in charge because the king over there says so. How have you been handling that? This Isidore guy has been giving you trouble. He's like a warrior type who's kind of like become like the warlord of Caruzia in your absence. He didn't like immediately attack you or like refuse your authority, but he's been giving you trouble every step of the way. How have you been handling that? You mean it?
I don't know if Alpheus would. I don't know. I feel like at this point he wouldn't even really care about this guy bothering him. Like he'd be bothered, but on the other hand, I don't know what he wants. I'm trying to decide what he wants.
Yeah. Because like this could be the answer for Alpheus as well, right? You could just be like, this guy is way better at this than I am. I'll just make him in charge.
Yeah, because he's like a man of valor, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Alpheus probably realizes that that's not where he's supposed to be. So maybe it's concurrent. Like when he realizes that he's not supposed to be in Caruzia, that's when he also decides to go back to the palace and offer his expertise there. So he probably will tell Isidore like in private, hey, I'm going to go back to the palace and you can continue what you've been doing. And
I would love to think that this conversation happens. Isidore has come to you yet again with an issue, right? With like one of his problems that he brings to you, and he's like starting to go into it, and he's like frustrated. He's like, "Listen, Alpheus, like you don't understand how things have been happening here. Like this is like you instituted this thing, but like it's not working because we were already doing this before." And he's in the middle of that explanation when you just say, "I'm actually leaving." So what do you actually say like, to interrupt
so
him?
he says, okay, wait. Whatever's going wrong, you figure it out.
And he frowns.
And I say, you figured out. You're in charge. And yeah, that's what he says.
I'm sorry. What are you doing exactly?
I'm saying I'm leaving. You need to take care of these people. That's your job now. I don't want it. It's not mine.
And you can see on his face, he's about to like his like gut reaction is to like be like, oh, you're a coward. Like you're just leaving and letting me. But then he's like, this is actually what I want though. And so he frowns a little bit and he says, he just sighs. I'm sorry, Alpheus. I've been a constant thorn in your side since you came here, haven't I?
Yeah, you have. But it's because you care, and I can see that, and I think you're capable. And that's, if you're capable and you care about these people, then you'll do a good job.
And like nothing else you could have done probably would have brought this guy around. But it's the idea that like, because like you came into town and you're like, you know, the king sent me to be in charge of this place. And he's just like, oh, these people don't understand. The city doesn't understand. Like, you know, we need to be able to choose our own rulers, like whatever. And you like saying this to him and admitting it to him, he suddenly like a switch flips in his head and he just says, you're a wise man, Alpheus. Tell the king that he has a loyal subject in me. And that he has my allegiance.
So Alpheus like puts his hand on the guy's shoulder and says, I'll be sure to tell the king.
Yeah, you know what? I think we should have Alpheus roll here. Actually, you're gonna succeed probably no matter what because you have like ridiculous persuasion. But let's see the dice actually hit the table, shall we? I think that's probably what happens, but we can see. Let me find Isidore's character sheet here. It's just gonna be like a straight persuasion. If you have force, you can do it, but against Ob 4.
I don't have my character hub. Hold on.
Nice. Yep. I figured it was going to happen, but might as well actually see it happen. Yeah, and so you say that he says that, and you say that, and everybody like you clap your hand on his shoulder, and he just nods slowly, and he says, "A wise man came to me before things happened in Sinia. And he told me that a truly good man looks out for those who can't offer him anything. Several of the best men I know died for that ideal." And like you know what he's referring to, right? Like yeah. And he says, "I hope both you and I can live up to it too." I wish you well, Alpheus.
I think you will.
And I think you will too. Sorry again for being a complete and utter jerk.
It's okay. I've been a jerk. I've been an utter jerk a lot of times.
Yeah, you guys are for like oil and water probably the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, he just nods to you and then just like goes off. And we see Alpheus, probably trudge back up the hill or trudge back down the road towards Sinia. Yeah.
Yeah. He probably hops on like a horse and
sure
just has like one bag and.
Yeah. I think Isidore gives you the horse. I think actually because he's actually like he's a horse guy. That's like what he did before. So I think he actually even like when you mention that, you probably didn't. You probably did come with a horse. Let's say that it's been some time, right? Like time has passed, and maybe you like lost your horse or something since then, like to like it stepped in a hole and broke its leg or something like that, right? And as you're about to figure out, you're just trying to figure out like, okay, how am I going to get to Sinia? Like, whose horse am I taking? Like, am I just going to like buy a horse off of someone? We see Isidore come with a horse, all stocked and ready to go, right, with saddlebags, and he just says, "Treat her well. She's treated me well."
And Alpheus says, "I'll take care of her, and I'll be sure the king knows of your charity."
Good. I hope I'm handsomely rewarded for it.
We'll see. And he laughs.
Does this mean I'm going to have to wear a blue robe?
I don't know. That's up to Ben.
Well, put in a word. No blue robes.
I'll be sure to let him know.
I think they look hideous. And then, he walks away.
Am I wearing a blue robe?
Probably.
No. Like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, we see Alpheus head back towards Sinia.
Yep.
Maya, how have things been going with your rebuilding and like what looking at Maya's skill list, could we make a roll here to see like what avenue Maya took to like what's the primary thing Maya's doing to help rebuild Sinia and do what she wants to do?
I mean,
you're obviously going to do bird stuff with Avra, but
yeah. recruiting people for Avra's bird club. I think that's what she calls it. She's like the bird club. No. I mean, in ancient history, right? What was an indicator that a society was flying? But when they had the arts, of course.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Makes sense. So Sophocles is the guy in town who is a playwright. But you could send for Damaris if you wanted to.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I always try to. Well, yeah. I think I've got the power, but it's more like, do I have? My idea was, working from the ground up. Like, obviously, like taking like few weeks or months to, just work on like, okay, let's get the buildings going. But it sounds like Ben's taking care of that. So in the meantime, she wants to rebuild the theater and like do that. And
all the men are dealing with all the practical stuff for you. You can focus on beauty, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm cleaning up the house, I'm decorating it, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
But
the men you're getting the men to clean up the house, and you're decorating after the fact, right? Like you're getting to do the fun part.
Yeah, exactly. So
cool.
I don't know. I feel like
it depends on how you want to go about it.
I feel like she needs people to back her, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's just circle tests, I think, right?
Feel, right? Like that's what I was thinking, right? It's not that she can't do that. It's just that she needs like people to like. She needs actors. She needs like people. She needs financial people, finance wise.
Is your main goal here to literally like get the Hopsef Society back up and running? Basically,
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's see. Yeah, I guess. Because Maya is good at acting and like the actual personal stuff at it, but not the logistics of running theater or whatever, that's probably what you're doing is like just circling up some.
I need to hire a manager.
Exactly. You need a left-brained person who can manage all this stuff for you, right? Do the logistics of it. I think this is going to be Ob 3.
Okay.
I don't think it's super difficult. Yeah, let's say Ob 3.
Okay, can I use my reputation as a patron of the arts?
You certainly can.
And my affiliation with the Hopsep Society.
Indeed.
Excellent. Okay. I feel pretty good about this roll. We'll be fine. Base Ob 3. Oh, man.
Got a 6.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll spend 2 fate.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well.
Still have 18.
Huh?
You still have 18.
I know. Oh wait, no, not remaining Ob 2. Remaining Ob 1. Mm-hmm. Dice 2. There we go.
Yeah, and because you just met the obstacle and didn't exceed it, I don't think we need to know who this person is, right? Like we just know Maya has done the groundwork, right? To find this person and make sure that Maya's the face of all of this, and whoever you circled up is the machine underneath, behind the curtain that's doing all the work. But you're the face, and yeah, I think certainly while the Gavril and Malekith are doing the hard work of like figuring out the economy and the agriculture and logistics and
how do you get the economy back up but by through businesses and things?
yes, but Maya's like main goal here,
that's the girl
right,
math happening right now, right?
Yeah. Like it is certainly like it's a valuable thing to make sure that people, because I think this what Maya's probably doing is not necessarily trying to make all the nobles happy by getting them to be able to frivolously give away their money in plays and stuff. What you're doing is you're giving the city of Sinia the gift of music and arts, and I'm imagining, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that this is like a public works thing for Maya, right? This is like to make sure that everyone's spirits are lifted and that as we're rebuilding the city, everyone has the highest spirits possible. These are like free, right? Like for anyone who wants to come and just watch plays, and maybe there's a whole bunch of volunteers that you manage to wrangle together of people who, yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of people who aren't super good at a whole lot of things except for acting or whatever, right? Like, or yeah, you're giving jobs to people. You're just trying to basically use your position as a noble and the resources that you and Malekith have to like give back to the people and give them joy.
Thank you for your service. Now here's a free show.
Exactly. Here's a free show, and it's going to celebrate the fact that, you know, we have Sinia back. Here's the story of what happened, right? To make sure that Sinia is reclaimed. And sure, yeah. So we see maybe like the tail end of one of those plays. Yeah, I mean, we can zoom in if you wanted to do anything in particular, but we can also just kind of montage that, and just see.
No, I'm fine with montaging that because I think in the meantime, you know, so she's giving Ben private lessons, you know, on the side of like how to be persuasion-y and have good etiquette and whatnot, and just general raising of a child. But
all the NPCs are doing all their thing there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the meantime, when he's doing lessons with other people, because I mean, I'm sure he's just constantly learning.
That's basically, he has full-time student, like the learning from, he has so many tutors.
Yeah. So
being thrown into the deep end here.
Yep.
He's got to catch up. Cool. Yeah. So, Avra, we should make a roll quick to see how your bird stuff is going, right? Like, what does it look like when we see Avra get that back up and running? And what's your exact goal with it exactly? Because like the noble stuff before with it was, right, like nobles like playing basically, right? Like that was their sport of choice. Is there some difference that Avra would have in the way she wants to go about reinstituting this?
A good question. I think the only main difference that she would want to be there is that it's less of like a popularity contest.
Yeah.
And like a cliquey, like high society thing, and more of like a like friendly competition that of course you can, you know, win money or other things through, and people could place bets if they wanted to, but like anyone can come like watch and like learn about falconry. And
yeah.
And I would think that she would also, whereas probably beforehand this didn't happen, she would also like have some of the more better performing falconers, like she would be like approaching them, being like asking if they would be willing to like instruct other people. Basically,
Avra, I'm imagining that you have like an elite group of falconers who have angel birds, right? Joser gives you a couple of those guys to like help. And like, is this like a secret thing where like the most important falconers have these like angel birds that like, if something like, you know, they're usually around the king or whatever, and like if something was ever to go wrong, angel bird attack, right? Okay. How about we have you make a animal husbandry roll? Because I think like the main thing you're doing is like focusing on the actual falconry side of it. And let's have Maya make a roll too, because I think based on what you described there, and we know Maya's helping you, right? It seems like Maya would be doing the logistics side of this, the talking to people, getting them involved, and Avra's doing the bird focused side of it, right? If that makes sense to you, Maya.
Yeah, sure. So what do you want me to roll?
Yeah, let's have you roll first since Carly had to step out. Probably, I mean, it could just be like persuasion or something, right? Like, it's just like recruitment and stuff, right?
Okay. All right. I'm trying to think what I could fork in then. So, I could probably fork in couple things. I'm thinking. So it's like it's just a general persuasion to like all the noble ladies, like hey, like
so.
let's like rebuild the bird club.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking court-wise, etiquette.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what else she would say, like to these people to get them to join. That would make sense. Like, conspicuous by like having like my bird with me, like.
Nah, I don't think so.
Too much of a stretch there.
I'm not sure there's anything else.
Anything else? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Court-wise. Yeah. Etiquette. Yeah, because I don't think I'm ugly truthing any of them. Like.
Yeah.
Well, maybe like, kind of subtly, like, if you want to be part of high society and like be friends with the, the two princesses of Sinia, you need to join.
That's fair.
Anybody who's anybody is going to join this club.
It's true.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll take it.
Go for it.
And
that just adds flavor to the consequences if it goes badly, right?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and put 2 persona in this. Why not? This is,
Let's make it an ob 5. These are willful noble ladies.
Okay. Sounds good. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. Okay, so 3 forks. 2 persona. You know what? Just 3. I've got 5. Why not? Okay, base on 5.
Mm-hmm.
On the money.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, so that part of it is going well, Avra, right? Like the recruitment of the people, and it's not even just noble ladies, right? It's like Maya starts with noble ladies and then goes to like any. So, do you break the gender stereotype or do you keep it to women? I guess that's a question.
That is a good question. I mean,
like, I don't necessarily think there are a bunch of men clamoring to have falcons necessarily.
Yeah.
So.
I think maybe like they would allow men to participate and like learn falconry.
Yeah, I don't think it would be forbidden in Sinia.
It still wouldn't become a social symbol for a man to have a bird on his shoulder. Like,
yeah.
That still wouldn't be common. Like, even if a man practiced falconry, he wouldn't be carrying his bird around with him everywhere.
Sure. You know what, Avra? Let's have you make an etiquette test. Right? Let's have you kind of like set the new standard.
Yeah.
Make sure that everybody's still on board with what you want the new etiquette to be. Mm-hmm. Let's have it be ob 2 etiquette. You fork a noble wise.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
So yeah, up to etiquette.
Nice.
Yeah, so Avra's continuing that. And then Avra, let's have you make the animal husbandry roll to see how well your kind of like training of the birds is going.
Mm-hmm.
You can fork in falconry. But that actually might be it. You get your bird die from your trait.
Mm-hmm. Affinity for birds, yeah.
Yep. Let me see what animal husbandry says. Let's have it be ob 3. You have 2 persona if you'd like to spend some of those.
Yeah, I'll spend 1. Dang.
You got 2 6s. And you got 2 fate. If you want to, up to you 1 or 2 fate, you could spend. If you spend 1 fate, you can reroll 2 dice. If you spend 2 fate, you can reroll 3 dice.
I'll just do 1.
Mm-hmm.
There
Nice.
we go.
All you needed. Yeah, so as we described, right, like Avra is not only like the raising of new birds and stuff is going well, and there's probably like more birds being trained now too, right? Not just the Sinian eagles, but we also have like the Neiman falcons that are imported, and like because you have Balthazar and stuff, and then other types. But then there's also the elites. I just think it's so cool having an elite squad of
secret bodyguard birds.
Secret bodyguard falconers, yeah, with their angel birds. I think that would be awesome. So here's a question, Avra. If Myra showed up, the gal who used to be in charge of the falconry club, if she ended up being a survivor of all of this, and wanted to rejoin the falconry club, would you let her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Avra's still pretty confident that she's a better falconer, so.
Sure. Do you want to? Because like I don't think she got killed. She just kind of got like ousted for a while. Let's have you make a test against her to see if you can like persuade her to be loyal to you. Because I think like if you manage to get her like loyal to you, she could be one of those like elite falconers because she is really good at falconry.
Yeah.
So up to you how you would be approaching that, I suppose.
I mean, I think she would just immediately approach her with like a job offer. Be like, would you be willing to be a falconry instructor? To like teach the other women of the city. Like because clearly you are skilled with falconry. And I think a lot of this is Avra. Like she's definitely involved in the actual like competitions somewhat, but I think she's more like running things now. Like she's less being a direct competitor to all these women and more.
Yeah, I think Avra's probably
like
focusing mostly on the animal husbandry part of it, right? It's like the actual raising of the falcons and stuff,
exactly.
right? Yeah,
the raising and the training.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's just going to be approaching her and being like you've proven yourself to be a good falconer, and I would love to have you in on this whole operation of training more Sinians to know how to use
that.
A bird.
Unfortunately sounds like a persuasion test, which you don't have. But hey, if you roll this and fail, you'll get the skill finally.
Oh my gosh!
And then if you fail, we can always have Maya do it instead, right? Like Maya can come up and be like, "Okay, here's how it's gonna go," right?
I mean, could I have Maya just help me?
Yes. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can do that. I can help. What would you like help with? I can help.
I would just do persuasion because I was going to say
because you'll get 2 dice with persuasion because I have a 6 in it.
Nice.
So.
And we know that if this fails, persuasion is out of the question. But if Maya used another skill to fork into this, that would also probably be out of the equation. So it's better to just be like, try persuasion, and then if that doesn't work, then Maya can take it like an ugly truth avenue or something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
or
go
I
for
can
it.
do falsehood, so I can actually use my call-on trait.
Yeah. So go ahead and roll that, Avra. You won't get any help dice besides that from Maya, right? You can't fork.
Okay.
So you can spend a persona,
2, right?
Yeah, it's 2. You can spend a persona if you'd like. Otherwise, you're just rolling against an ob 6 because that's her will.
I might as well. I have 1 left, and I don't feel like anyone's going to try to kill me. So.
So here, before you make the roll, I will say there is one important thing I have in mind to end with Avra, and there's almost no chance that persona is going to make a difference given how high this ob is going to double to. I would just save it.
Okay.
Try for luck.
What was the ob again?
6. You get 2 dice for Maya. Yeah, exactly. She's a very strong will. See, it doubled to 12, so. You get a difficult... Oh, you don't even get persuasion. It's just a difficult on your will. What you needed. Hey, your will goes up. You now have a will of 6. Congrats. Yeah. So that failed. Right. And it's like we can tell that she just has too much pride, right? You come to her and say this, and she refuses the offer, and you can see on her face that like it's because she thinks that she's just going to be able to weasel her way back in charge anyway, right? Without taking your pity offer or whatever, right? So what does Maya do instead? Because like I definitely want to see this moment, because Avra's not typically good at this sort of stuff, but Maya is, and now that Maya's working with Avra, I want to see that tag team, right? Maya come up and be like, well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, right, like, how does she, like, I guess it just depends on how she responds. Like, what does she say?
Yeah. So your request was, Avra, your offer was come back and like teach falconry, because you're really good at it, and like we need to teach more falconers. And I think Myra just looks suspicious, and
it's kind of funny because I just realized that her name is basically a mashup between Avra and Maya's.
It's true. Yeah. She's
like,
played by Gal Gadot.
Uncannily familiar just because we hear Avra and Maya's names all the time.
Yeah. I have her played by Gal Gadot. But like she's fallen on hard times, right? Like I think she technically kept under her noble title, but like not in a good state in the futures of Sinia here for her. So I think she seems suspicious. She politely refuses the offer, right? She says, I'm sorry, Avra. I have so many things to do in building up the remnants of my house and helping my family restore their place in Sinia that I just don't believe I'll have the time. But Maya, you can probably tell that like this is her. She thinks that Avra's gonna like set her up to fail. Like that's Avra's going to just like do what Myra would do in her place, which is give her a fake job and then like get her like killed or something, right? Because like, oh, you did something wrong and now I have reason to kill you. Like she's just expecting all the worst from Avra. Because the dynamic of power has shifted so dramatically between the two of them.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm thinking of two different avenues. One where like basically like, where Maya just says, man, that's really a shame. And then she just like turns to Avra and goes, okay, so you think, and then like, I want to like name drop somebody else and say, okay, so since she's a bust, you want to try doing her and, like basically go for some kind of falsehood, like backhanded, like, okay, well, no problem. We understand that you have, this other thing. We're going to try to get this other person who, is going to do
some of her other top competitors.
Right. And just be like, they'll probably do a really good job too, don't you think? And just kind of like try to plant that like seed of like, oh, now I want the job kind of a thing.
Because like, oh, it was a real offer. They actually need this person and I would be better than her.
Yeah, exactly. Like playing on that pride. So because that
sounds like falsehood to me.
Yeah,
right?
That's kind of what I'm going for.
Okay, just keep in mind she has a 6 will.
I have a 5 in falsehood.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
I have a 5 in falsehood and a call on for it.
Oh, that's true.
So that's what I wanted to go for.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, I was thinking forking in soothing platitudes because I'm just like, yeah, okay, no, we totally understand. You've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Ugly truth that she needs to like that somebody else can do the job.
Yep.
And
you get to fork in acting.
Okay, drama wise.
Yeah.
Or just one or the other.
Both. That's fine.
Both. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
For
fork in court wise too.
Okay.
Everything about the way you've described is very set up with all those forks for sure.
Okay. So let's see. So it's 5. I don't think I could work in etiquette. I'm not being particularly.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just those 5. I'll go with that.
Drop any persona?
Nah, I'm gonna stick with my 10 dice, and then I've got call-ons, I've got fate.
Yep.
You know, I want to. Yeah.
Go for it. Ob 6.
It's Ob 6. Oh, okay. All right. I rolled 2
Very
sixes.
close.
So should
Yeah,
I
2
do
sixes.
call on first, right? Since like or does it really
Call
matter?
on rerolls failed dice.
Right.
I would just do fate first.
Okay. Just in case I need to use falsehood for something else.
Well, I mean, you can do both. It's just like which one you're starting with.
All right. Sure, why not? Okay, so I'm re-rolling.
The fate is the easier one.
So I'm doing 3 dice because
If you
2
want to
fate
spend
for
2 fate,
3
yeah.
dice. Okay.
Yeah, the only difference will be. Okay, yeah, perfect. You got it already. I was gonna say the only difference would be like if the die that was the failed dice, which would have been that last one, had rolled a success, we would have counted that one. That one couldn't count for your call on. That would be the only thing that would matter with the order there. But you succeeded, so good job. Yeah, and it's probably like she doesn't want to like seem desperate, so she doesn't accept it right away, right? Like when you say this in front of her, but you can tell the seed has been planted, and a couple of days later she comes back and says, well, actually, my family's affairs were really quick to get in order, and I can take the job right now. You didn't give it to her, right? You didn't give it to her.
No, you're just in time. We were just on our way to go talk to her.
Yeah, exactly.
So glad that you came around to the idea.
Yeah, and mainly, I think what I want to, my main point with that is I think it would be really cool to see just like a shot of, at some point during the montage of this episode, Avra standing next to Myra, and they both have angel birds, right? And they're like the elite falconer people, right? Yeah.
I also like to think that like as like Maya's saying this, Avra's like giving her like a quizzical look, and then she just like pats her on the back and like leads her away, and she's like, "What are you doing? Like, that's not what I wanted to do." She's like, "Just give it a couple days. It'll be fine."
Right. Yeah. Cool. I think we skip over
moment.
Yeah, for sure. I think we skip over to Alpheus.
That's what Maya
again,
wanted.
After that. And I'm curious, Alpheus. I think we see Alpheus. Obviously, Alpheus has come back and has been welcomed with open arms to help in the city and stuff. Alpheus's main the main thing he's good at is talking to people one-on-one. So like, I think a lot of what you're doing for Ben is probably just being that like guy who just convinces people of things when he needs them convinced of something. You're the guy who does all the backdoor deals and convincing nobles to do things Ben's way. But I think we catch Alpheus maybe after one of these particular encounters. It doesn't really matter what it was for. We see you, walking away from like a noble manor, and we see you just like take this what was it like a medallion that you got from the enchanting goddess? What like trinket? It was like a trinket of some sort, right?
Yeah, I think I thought of it as like a necklace almost.
It's a necklace. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So I think we see Alpheus like maybe just like grab this from inside of his shirt, right? And just like take a look at it. He's like glancing at it as he's walking to like from one place to another in Sinia. And what is Alpheus thinking about that stuff, right? Like I don't know I don't think he's gotten in touch with the goddess of enchanting since then. Like he's had this thing now. Like is Alpheus going to do anything with this?
I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah.
Because if he had retired, he could have like reopened his blacksmith shop or something. Because that's what it does, right? It lets me, or what does it do? It lets me enchant things.
Yeah, basically, you can make something with blacksmithing, right? And then you can enchant it with enchanting to give it.
But can I just enchant anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's a physical object usually. So, and it's easier to do if you're the one who made it, but technically you can do it with anything.
What can I do with enchanting?
And again, this isn't necessarily me asking you, like, what do you make with the medallion? I'm just curious, like, what Alpheus's plan in general is with this thing.
I feel like
like you kind of like surreptitiously took it from the goddess.
He would eventually want to give it back.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really need it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, I don't know how much time has passed, but
yeah, I think it's been
presumably
weeks or months.
Won't need it anymore.
Sure. Yeah, and maybe like you just haven't used it since then, right? You've just been like, I used it for the one thing that didn't end up mattering, and like, I don't know, like, do I use this again? Like, is it useful? I don't know. I don't know if I even should use it. And I think there's maybe a moment where maybe you get back to wherever you're staying, right? Like, we see you, you're walking away from a manor, going to where you're staying currently, or whatever villa you have here in Sinia. And you're looking at this medallion as you go. But when you get to your house, I think Joser is there waiting for you. As Josh gave me leave to play his character in this session, so
okay.
I think we see Joser there. And I think you walk in, and how do you respond? It's just Joser like kind of sitting at your table.
I say, Joser,
reading a book.
What are you doing here? You didn't say you were visiting.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to stop in and say, see how things were going with my favorite city.
Well, what do you think?
I really do like what you've done with the place.
And that's the only reason you're here?
No, I suppose not.
I'm not saying you're lying.
Yeah, he smiles. My friend Nessan Hur, she realized that she was missing something. And I promised her that I would stop in and ensure that, this little trinket was taken care of one way or another. Now, believe me, Alphys, this isn't me telling you you have to give it back. I'm just curious. What are your plans with that?
Well, to be honest, I forgot I had it. I haven't needed to use it. I've been so busy working with the other city officials to get everything back to normal that I honestly just put it up, and she can have it back.
And I'm happy to give it back to her if that is what you wish, but
as long as you don't send me flying out of my body again, then I'm all right.
No worries. I won't do that again unless you ask.
No, thank you.
I suppose I just have a question for you, Alpheus. If there was a larger plan here, more to do in the future, would you be up to partnering? Oh, it's hard to say that word in this accent.
Yeah.
Partnering with me in a venture of sorts. You have power at your disposal, and you have the mind to use it. I can put off Nessan Hur indefinitely, and maybe even give her, maybe even convince you to train you in a thing or two. But I think Sinia and the world might need more people with that sort of ability if we are to become more than what we are.
And Alpheus kind of thinks about it because he's confused. He's not really sure exactly what the offer is, and so he says, What are you proposing?
Well, as the world is restored, another thing that needs to be restored is the magic, the abilities that men once had. For too long has enchanting and faith and all the rest of it been corrupted by the inky depths. I think people like you need to use it. Learn how to use it fully. Experiment. Make mistakes. And show the world how to do it right. Without having to do the sorts of things that Ophelia and Cyrillus did. These powers, they aren't evil. And I think they can be used for something much grander. There are worlds out there, Alpheus, beyond just this one. And when we meet those worlds, I think we'll need to know a trick or two. Basically, his offer to you is become an enchanter, figure out how to make some cool stuff, and we'll arm the planet You know, for what might be coming in the future, right? Like Alpheus, we need to build up a little bit of an armory.
Yeah, and I suppose I'm like, there's not really anyone else he can ask, or that would make sense for him to ask.
There are a few, I suppose, I could ask, but seeing as we have a previous history, I thought I'd give you I'd give you the chance first. That dagger you made me was quite excellent.
Well, Joser, let me finish the work I have to do here, and then I may be willing to join you in this, but not yet. I hope you understand.
Of course. Take all the time you need. I can put off Ness on her indefinitely. I'm kind of in charge of all the other...
She's kind of scary.
Yeah, I'm kind of in charge of all of the other gods now.
Did I know that? Should I have known that?
You could probably have guessed it, but...
Okay. Well, then I guess you can put her off indefinitely.
He nods. She'll be mad, but I think she'll come around in the end.
Well, if she comes around the wrong way, then I'm calling you. You better help me if she shows up.
Don't worry. I don't plan on leaving any of you ever again. He gets like serious.
I know.
Yeah, and I think he says, what did you end up doing with Titan, by the way? And that's me as the GM realizing we totally forgot about that.
Isn't he just in jail?
I was going to say, let's flash back to that. I assume you guys
want them to
execute
him.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
And I think that's probably what happened. I don't know if there's any way it could have been stopped. I suppose that Titan could try to escape. Let me even see if he had anything. Oh, yeah. I mean, again, like he has like a 2 in sleight of hand. Very, very, very slim chance he would have been able to like pick lock his manacles or whatever, right? So I don't even think it's worth trying. I think he of course tries, but would fail. Yeah. So you just executed him.
I mean, I didn't. I feel like he would have gone to trial.
Yeah.
And what was his crime?
I mean, killing the king of Sinia. Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Kidnapping the current king of Sinia, too?
Yeah. So
generally treason
he
against
deserves
Sinia.
to be executed.
Yeah.
And that would be like by a decree of the king, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it would be one of the first things that Ben would do, but like certainly they wouldn't wait too long.
It's got to have happened already.
Yeah. I think it has a while ago, but that was mainly me as the GM just being like, oh yeah, we forgot to do that.
And they could use that as like a political thing, like to make him look good to everybody.
Yep. Yeah, he's kind but firm, right?
Yeah, he's defeating his enemies.
Yep. And like maybe it's one of those things that like we probably did get a scene of that where Titan's like we see, okay, I think this is what we see, right? We flash back and we see Titan in his jail cell. And he's like frantically like trying to like maneuver this like little toothpick looking thing that he's like managed to grab, and he's like trying to unlock his manacles and he can't do it. And like the little bone thing snaps and falls to the ground, and he just says, dang it. Curse it all. Ugh. And then do you want to talk to Titan at all before he like hangs or whatever? Or do we just see the like random faceless guards take him away?
I feel like it would just be, yeah, he deserves to be killed. The nobodies take him away for sure.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve like anybody important doing that.
Yeah, I think we see
I want it to be humiliating for him.
Sure. I think we see the last thing we see from him is right, like we hear booted footsteps and he's like cursing to himself as he like tries to find something else to like some other way to like escape this. The guards show up and they, unlock the door and grab him and are manhandling him. And the shot stays in the prison cell, and we just see him be led out and down the hallway, and we just hear the fading voice of Titan just saying, "Now listen, we can talk about this. Now, listen, if you just give me a chance." Right? And then that's the last we see of him.
Finally.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, but then Alpheus in the future maybe will turn into cool enchanter Alpheus. But he's focusing on his work in Sinia first. Cool. Like it. There are 2 things I believe I have left. Yep. The second to last thing is you, Avra. So Avra, you've been working with Ben and Citus to do all the Irida stuff and teach him how to do this. And I think at one point, after you're finished with your lesson, Ben leaves and Citus stays with you. And he says, "Avra, have you heard from Ophelia since everything happened?"
I assume I haven't.
No.
Yeah, she just says, nope.
As far as I can tell, she's still wandering Tartuit. Hagiel hasn't dealt with her yet, and maybe he won't. That place is meant to be a prison for people like her. And then he says, "Do you regret your actions with Ophelia? How everything turned out?"
I think I would have if her origin would have been different. If we would have actually grown up together as sisters.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have found a positive light to look at her in.
He nods. I can't help but feel sad. I don't think people can make excuses for the way they turn out simply because of their past. But I don't think we would be human unless we understood the tragedy of it. What she could have been. I think he stands up, kind of dusts himself off. He says, "I think you ended up being the better princess through all of this."
Well, that's good to hear.
No, I mean between you and Maya, too. Maya's had her share of victories, but you've been the one who stayed constant through all of this. That's the reason I came to you in the first place. Without you, none of this would have been possible. Without you, Thestios would have fallen far before he did. I don't think you realize the influence you had on him, even in those final days. I'm sorry that you couldn't save him.
Me too.
Well, a few more years of this, and I think Ben will be in good shape. And then you can retire the Irida forever if that's your wish.
At this point, all I want is to work with my birds and have a family, whatever that ends up looking like.
He nods slowly. Of course. And you could see on his face that, he was going to ask you something. Something involving, your future or whatever, something, based on his implications on, if that's what you wish, with the Irida, right? There was something there that he's and then he decides not to ask it. And he just, nods to himself, and he says, "No, that's good. You should stay. You and Caledon should stay here and do what you just described." And he starts to turn away. Do you stop him?
Yeah, I think she just says, stay as opposed to going where.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have to go anywhere, but your eyes have been open to some important things, Avra, and there's a path. There's a path that you could take. I think you're already walking on it no matter what you choose here, but technically, there's something bigger than Sinia. Something out there. You can still have your family. Caledon can come with you. But me and people like me are doing things out there. The way that your mind has been open to the Irida, well, let's just say that the spheres themselves dance to the same song. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just offering you a choice. You can stay in Sinia with its burning sun, or you could find your way to another star. It's your choice. And of course, you'll want to talk it over with Caledon.
Yeah, I think she just says, I'll bring it up to Caledon. But I think he'd probably agree that Sinia still has some reclaiming that needs to be done.
I agree. I just want to make sure that people have a choice in these matters. There's one thing you don't have a choice in, though, Avra. And that's that your mind has been opened. Not just to the song, but to him, the father of the gods. Don't forget that. Don't go back to the petty religion of your forebears. Your father saw it too, though he rejected it. There is something bigger than the Kalahim. And you can enter into the song even if you don't come with me.
How do I do that?
Well, like I helped you discover the Irida, I think I can help you and Caledon discover this too. And I think we just fade out from the conversation there. So you tell me, Carly, there's one last thing. That scene was kind of out of nowhere. I just pivoted left turned into, do you want to join a secret organization that spans the globe? Sort of a thing. Or the universe. The original purpose of that scene was to poke at the Ophelia stuff anymore. Do you feel that Avra is done with Ophelia? Because technically, Ophelia probably still has a pinch of that white daisy stuff that she could use to talk to you in your dreams or whatever if we wanted to do one last scene between you and Ophelia.
I feel like she's done with Ophelia.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe we just see a shot of Ophelia wandering the wastes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe we get a shot of her at the gates of black dust themselves, right? This kind of like dark archway that's like at the border. It's sort of symbolic, but I think there's probably a physical location kind of on the border between the dark and the light. And she's just standing at this doorway. And I think we hear a voice in her mind, and it's like probably like the voice of Myri, the goddess of redemption, who she was like she talked to Joser, or talked to for Joser. And we just hear her basically say, anyone can be redeemed. And Ophelia's just standing at the gate. And she holds up a hand. And then she lets it drop. And then she turns and walks away. The very last thing we see for Death and Madness is we see an old man around a campfire. He's speaking with some youths. And he's old, worn, happy though. His smile wrinkles on his face. We don't get a good shot at his face yet. We just see kind of like the wrinkles around his mouth. There's a hood kind of covering his face, and he's speaking to the youths around the fire, and he says, "Do you want to hear a story?" And the children nod. And he says, "This is a good story. It's about 2 princesses." And we hear a groan from the children, most of them boys. And he holds up a hand and he says, "So you've heard this one before? Well, it may not be exactly as you think. You see, this is the story of 2 princesses. And a third, but we'll get to that when we get to it. These princesses lived in the city of Sinia. A city that used to be, or that was once noble and true. Served its people well. Justice reigned within its walls. But then, corruption came. Death. Madness. And Sinia fell. But you must always remember, in this world, though there may be great darkness, if you keep walking, you will eventually reach the light." And we get a full shot on the guy's face, and it's Joser. And the last thing he just says is, "Now it all began when King Thestios killed the priest of Pyrrhus." And we just fade away. And that is the conclusion of Death unto Madness. I'm very happy that we got to wrap up a little bit more with our characters. Get some closure with them. And some promise of things to come in the future in the story in our minds, right? But for now, we're going to go ahead and call it there. With Alpheus, Maya, and Avra, and Joser. I don't know if you guys caught this. For anyone who happened to not put the pieces together, the very beginning of Death Unto Madness started with this old man around a campfire telling a story to children, and turns out it was Joser all along. No. That was actually from Josh. Josh suggested it a while back, that he was actually that old man that I started with. But
I think it's cool.
Yeah. I think that's it though for Death Unto Madness. Thanks for sticking with us, guys, for the epilogue, to be able to play out a little bit more and give the characters a little bit more of some closure. I was really happy with the way this session went, and we were able to tie up all those loose ends and give it a good epilogue. But yeah, that's Death Unto Madness. I believe that's it. We're out. Adios.